Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about Skellige Pirates, and I put together this deck and been playing it for a few games today, but I also do have an alternative version that might deal with certain situations that I felt like this one couldn't. But I would say both of the decks are good, they're just good in different ways, or they go about things a little bit differently. So we have Fukusha here to start. Fukusha is going to play a Skellige unit from our graveyard with a provision cost of 10 or less and give it doomed and spawn rain on the opposite row with the duration equal to unused provisions. So more than often we're going to be looking for a gold card, whether it be Morkvarg, Turgvi, Scoia'tael, Holger, or even like a discard package if we haven't done enough thinning. But we do have really good options within the bronze end. Typically I would go for like an on-crate raider just for the value. It's 5 provisions, so it would get 5 turns of rain, and then we have of course the power that it comes up with later because of the veteran status, and if Herald's on the playing field we're getting even more points because we're playing another card with a warrior tag. So there's a lot of synergy within the play, but you can use what's most suitable in the given circumstance. And moving on to Herald on Craite next, I opted to go for Herald because I just think Herald's really good with a deck like this. A lot of cards that you're going to want to bring back in the bronze end, like the On-Crate Raiders and the Tursic Invaders, have dual tags, so they have pirates and they have warriors, so it just makes sense to play them that way. And for that reason, I think what pairs really nice with Herald in round 3, if we can pull it off, would be the Holger Blackhand. Otherwise, we can use Holger in round 1 when we play these cards for the first time to get the extra value. It's like a pseudo Herald. And then in round 3, to roll things out a bit more smoother, we can put out Herald and do it all again. So that's typically how I like to play it, because I find if you're doing this whole play in round 3, there's a lot of moving pieces. However, it does kind of split up really nicely here. So again, use your discretion. There's different situations for different matchups and whatnot. King Bran has been one of my favorite cards since it was introduced in 9.6. Not only does it have veteran status, but on deployed boosts self by basically 1 by every excess damage is dealt to a unit from the start of the game. So we can get this up a few boosts. We're not really looking to do excess damage to units, but it does get a couple points naturally from throughout the game. Now, what's nice about the card though, what makes it really playable here, is the fact that at the beginning of the game, it triggers the veteran ability of all units in the deck. So we have tons of stuff, right? We have the Tursic Turgvi, we have the Scoia'tael, we have the On-Crate Raiders, and we have the Invaders, and of course itself. So we're getting that extra point for all of these units when just by having this in the deck. So even if it's at the bottom of our deck, it's still going to trigger when we start the match, which is really good. I like to have some sort of tall punish in the deck. Morkvarg works quite well. We get to damage an enemy unit by 1 repeatedly until the target is damaged. So what that means is if it boosts to 20 and the base power is 4, we're damaging it right down to 3. It's a hard reset of a card, plus 1, basically, to summarize it. I know I've been getting questions like that, but that's how it works. So we just want to look for the thing that's been boosted the most and take it down, because it'll take it 1 below the base power. Turgvi works really well in the deck. You can even run Turgvi in 2 rounds if you want. I think it's a really good Fukusha target. I like it more than often. A lot of decks have 1 Purify, but they don't necessarily have 2, so we have the ability to give an enemy unit Rupture. And if you're unfamiliar with what Rupture is, at the end of the owner's turn, damage this unit equal to the base power, then remove the status. So what that means is, let's say we put Rupture on a 6 power unit. At the end of their turn, the unit that we put Rupture on is going to take 6 damage. If the unit's base power is 10, it's going to take 10 damage, and then the Rupture status is removed from that unit because the effect has been triggered. So you can imagine that this card has quite an incredible swing. The fact that it's starting at 6 points now in round 1, going to 8 in round 3. Let's say we put this on a 10 power unit, we're getting like 18 points for 10 provisions. So it really trades up, and it's one of my favorite cards for Skellige, and I've been playing this even when it wasn't cool. Like, I just really like the card. Now, we need some sort of consistency. The former version that I played had the Vabjorn, and it had the raiding fleet and all that type of stuff to cycle out the boats. I think it's a little bit more consistent to go Coral Burna here. Most of the time when I'm playing Skellige, if not all the time right now, I'm putting the pair in here. I just like the way it rolls out. It didn't treat me too well today, And you'll see that in some of the games we did miss our discards, but overall I've had more success with the discard package than I've had failures with it. So I still am confident with it, but it was a little bit frustrating playing some of the games today. Now, we have the ability to draw a card and discard a card. Whenever we discard a card, damage a random enemy unit by 2. So you want to get Coral down first, and if we can pull into Burn in the same round, then we can get the extra 2 draws and discards so that we get the extra damage from the Coral. I often see the Burn go down first. You really don't want to do that unless you're looking for the Coral, but if you do it the other way around, you're good to go. Now, our discard targets are going to be Morkvarg, of course, and our Tursic Skirmishers. So these cards, when discarded, will come to the playing field. Otherwise, if we don't have them, it's a really good way to thin our deck. So I'll be looking for things of least value going forward. So I'll be looking to discard maybe a round 1 Invader, or discard a Gutting Slash if we don't need it in that matchup. Or maybe it's a short round 3 and we don't need a play that's progressive and super slow like the On-Crate Longship. Maybe we could tuck that away, right? Just because there's certain things that are just not going to play well at certain times. So this helps us fix the hand so that we can play things that are better for the situations that we're in. We talked about Holger. Scoia'tael, amazing card. By round 3 with the veteran status and devotion, it's going to get up to 6 base power, and it's going to deal 6 damage. So 12 for 8 plus removal. This Scoia'tael in his final form might be my favorite Skellige card. It might be. And just because it's crazy. It takes out an engine. It has dominance at 6 points, and it just looks great doing it. So Scoia'tael is like a necessity in a deck like this, and in Warriors decks as well. Now, Terror of the Seas is quite nice. This card plays for a lot of value if we could pull it in round 1. Obviously, they patched the effect it was getting when it was getting like way too much armor. But right now, it still plays for good value for 7 provisions. We can use the order on Zeal. We have the ability to lose all armor, damage unit by that amount, and whenever we play a pirate, gain an armor. So this is really cool, but it also synergizes with our leader. So we have basically the second clause here, and whenever an enemy unit becomes damaged, give 1 armor to all pirates and ships in our hand. So we want to have this in hand, preferably early on in the game, so that we can get this up quite high. Normally, I'm seeing somewhere between 5 to 8 points of removal reach that we get with it, but obviously there are situations where you can get more. So earlier the better, but we can't always plan for that sort of stuff. Giga Scorpion is something that I don't normally play against when I'm playing against Warriors, but I felt like it was actually a suitable tech for a lot of what's going on right now. And mages are very prominent, so there's the extra need for removal, in my opinion, for the mages matchup. It deals with Letitia perfectly. It'll deal with one of the students perfectly. Even helps if one of the students is boosted with a Marine to 7. We have the reach with one of our boats and Giga Scorpion, so it makes some sense there. A lot of times people will put down the Horson Jr. and they'll click that that leader and maybe boost it up to 6 or 7 points with Jackpot. And so this helps get that in removal range, this plus leader charge, or this plus held ping, or this plus, again, another ping from a boat. So this is why we have it in there, and I'm glad that we have it. Obviously, if we're playing into like a no unit or low unit matchup, having the extra special cards hurts a little bit, but most of the time we're going to want that extra removal. Plays well into relics as well, because the Witch Apprentices normally go to 6 power. So we have reach maybe to remove one of them here. We've got reach to remove one of them here. We've got answers for the Bloody Mistress with a few things. So we're doing all right so far to help control these threats before they get out of hand. Now, the On-Crate launch ships are really good to distribute Bloodthirst. So this is not overly important because we're not running Iced or like Champion's Charge or anything of that sort. But it really helps get more value from our Gutting Slashes being Bloodthirst 2, damage unit by 6. So that's one thing. But in addition to that, it really just helps bring things down so they're a little bit easier to deal with from, you know, our Raiders and the other boats, right? So if something's 5 power, it comes down, well, all of a sudden it's 4. Let's say we don't have Bloodthirst 2, we can just hit it with a Gutting Slash. So it brings things to a point where it's a little bit easier to cycle those engines that they have from the playing field. A lot of the times too, we just need something proactive to play in round 1. Maybe we don't want to take a first turn discard. Well, we can put down a boat and just start that online, right? So that makes sense. We talked about the Raiders basically just going to be playing for 7 points in round 3 and Order of 2. Bloodthirst 3, we gain Zeal, so we can try and distribute maybe Bloodthirst before playing this if we're in a matchup where we know the opponent has reach for removal for a 7 power or they have locks. But most of the time you're able to just get that because you're playing one from hand normally. They have armor in hand, so it makes it a little bit difficult for them to remove. So to put a lock on this, we don't mind too much because we have a lot of engines that might just stick then, right? And pretty much it. Just Point Slam here, Bloodthirst distribution, and then our discard targets, and the Harpooner's in here for a couple reasons. So this is going to help us get around the Defender if we need to. I don't want to have to put in an expensive Purify, and I don't really want a Peller that's not really doing much else for the deck. At least the ship's tag has a little bit of synergy with the Holger. At least sometimes we can get a lot of value from the damage that this does as well. So I think that this plays a bit higher potential than a Peller in this case, but it also sticks with the devotion clause that we're looking for, and I didn't want to have to go into 7 provisions and run something like a Gremist. If I can see him here, he should be 7 still, right? There's no way he got the buff. Oh yeah, he did get the buff. Yeah, so Gremist used to be 7, but I don't think it's worth going into a 6 provision slot just to put a Purify here with a Druid tag and a human that doesn't really have any other synergy beyond, well, there's none besides the Purify, if you know what I mean. So this is version number 1, and I didn't put in Crach on Craite because I found when I played against this matchup time and time again, I was able to answer Crach on Craite before it became a problem. So they put him down and have easy 2 points from leader or from an order of something on the board, and then like a 5-point removal card. So I didn't value this quite as much as maybe some of you guys might, and I felt like we can beef up the mid-range slot much better if we put in Crach on Craite. So it really comes down to, if Crach on Craite goes in, we pretty much have to take out Holger, and we pretty much have to take out Giga Scorpion. So I weighed these two more than this, and that's why I made this the selection that I did. And then we'd have to go and put another 4 provision if we played Crach. So that's that. I'll show you guys version number 2 because I like them both. This one has, instead of the Giga, if you're finding it's not really working for you, if you'd like to have maybe a lock answer instead with a tall base power, I don't mind Jenga at all. I think that Jenga is really easy to set up with our leader, and I think he's really easy to set up with random pings and Diamond Longship and all types of things like that. So I would definitely consider that as an option as well. And that's pretty much the only change. There could be one more here. We could go in, actually, we could do a couple little things. So Harpooner could go in this version, and I'll tell you why. If you're having bad luck like me today, when you're playing, Heimei Skald can go in for that extra discard, and we need that movement tech because we need to get around some defenders and whatnot. And so Hammond actually sees some pretty good value here because we can move something, give it 2 bleeding, but we can put down 2 pirates prior, so then we're getting 4 bleeding. So it's 11 for 8 plus the movement that we're looking for to get to what we're looking for. So I think this is what I was actually meaning to do, but I didn't do it before I opened this deck. So this is what I have for the second one. I'll put a link to both decks in the description, so if you prefer one more than the other, then you can go for that there. For the sake of the video, I played the first deck today, and I'll go with that one there, but I think that they both would have a very similar outcome. The first one, rather, arguably has more control. The second one has more consistency. So whichever is really more important to you, you can base your choice off of there. And I'll be showing you guys wins and losses, and we're going to be doing post-game commentary today. I played the games pretty early this morning, and I wasn't really up to doing the commentary on it there, but I'll let you know what's going through my mind and kind of what I was anticipating during the plays and what we could have done different and stuff like that. So if you enjoy the video, don't forget to sub to the channel, and I will be back tomorrow with another video at 8 AM Eastern Daylight Time, so I hope to see you there. Alright, and for the first game here, we got Northern Realms inspired Zeal. And more times than not, it's going to be some kind of mages. Mages are pretty well meta right now, I would say, for Northern Realms. Probably the strongest deck overall. But they do fall a little bit short to control, in my opinion. So I think if we can get a good enough draw here in round 1, we should be fine. If we can prevent the carryover, then they won't really have much going on later games. So that's kind of what I'm looking to set up here, is a hand that I can play through quite well. And this one looks pretty good because we have a good amount of pirates and boats. And we have a couple control tools like the Gutting Slashes, Giga, and stuff like that. Pings with Burna. And I've been seeing a lot recently that more people are running duels opposed to defenders. So as far as this list, but I mean, there is no shortage of the defenders as well. So I'm hoping that there is no defender here because I don't have the movement tech that we need. However, we might be able to pull into it with Coral there. I'm just trying to decide if I want to play Holger just yet. I think we need to respect it, because what happens when we don't get these engines down early, especially like Holger and Coral and all those types of different engines, whether it be like a whenever you play type engine or a draw discard engine, we end up playing the cards that are meant to proc them before we play them, and we just lose the value. So it's a little bit of a slow play. It doesn't get rid of the student, but we can go and now we can play the next boat and we can get rid of the student next turn. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards here. And I just thought I should mention, guys, it's incredible to see, and the support from the community has been so strong. I have 4 of the top 10 trending decks on playgwent.com right now, and I just wanted to thank you guys for that. I just started posting my decks on the website instead of just putting like a deck link, and the feedback has been really great. So now we have Letitia coming down, and this is what I was talking about, right? We have an answer to it. Obviously, we don't need the 6, but the 6 is a little bit easier. If they boost it, then we still have the reach for it. Gutting just feels more appropriate here because it does deal for 6, but it's less expensive than Giga. Giga doesn't have the condition, so we could save it for something that might be more important. Perhaps something with a shield or whatever the case. Because if they're running the location, then you'll often see the shield come out. But so far the students haven't really gotten threatening at all. Maybe 2 turns on the melee row. Letitia's out of play. So that's kind of frustrating. There's not a lot I can do. I'm just kind of looking at the options here. I don't really want to go play Terror early. But next turn we could potentially take Giga plus a boat ping from the back row. So I'm hoping that they don't see the line of play here, and then we can try and pull that one off. Really comes down to what's most important. I think we value removing their boost more than we value removing their damage, because the armor really helps us out. However, we can probably just take them both out here. I think it's worth it. And it's kind of an awkward spot to be in. Part of me wants to take Coral here to look for a way out of the round and try to hit at least one of those students. Okay, we take the discard here. Unlucky ping. I don't think we ever ended up hitting any of them. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. If I knew it was going to be like that, I probably would have put the Raider down first. But that does provoke the pass we're looking for, and they don't climb up to a point where I really think it's worth it. Our hand right now is pretty good. We have really good removal reach with Terror, so there might be a consideration to push. It all kind of comes down to what I get here. Kind of looks like a pushing hand to me. You'd be surprised. At this point in the match, I wasn't expecting any sort of duels or anything like that. Rafford's is not half bad. We can just go take it out with Terror. It's actually a really nice trade too. We get the leader charge and everything. And I think we just wait with the Raider. I don't think they have a way to take it out here. If I can use it on something else, then it's probably better. Don't have to worry about a boiling oil or really any sort of damage on it because the armor's so thick. Kudak is a little bit slow, but it does have a strong base power of 6. So I'm thinking about taking a Turgvi here. But I'm also thinking about maybe getting another go at the Coral Ping, right? Or Holger, because Coral was really bad to us in round 1, so I ended up taking Holger here. I mean, the hand we have is pretty good. That secures it, so a little bit safer. And then it still engines when we play the next 2 pirates from hand. So, probably the safest bet in this case. I would really like to see the last Amphibious, and I'd really like to see an early Alumni because they have to. So these are the types of things I'm looking for here. We get the duel down. I guess Holger's gone, right? So we're still up. I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I think you have to go through it. I'm trying to decide if I want to go and take the Turgvi next or if I want to just play the Raider. I kind of like the Raider here first because it warms up the order and then it gives us more room to escape. So if I go take Turgvi here and use the order, then I have potentially that much more reach to get out of the round, right? That's kind of clean. If it wasn't an Alumni, I probably would have taken the Turgvi there. And so I'm kind of worried that they have a Gerhardt in hand at this point. And so I don't really want to take the Rupture, because if we deal 5 damage, we get rid of the Kukudak, sure. But they can go ahead and take their duel, and they can go ahead and take their Gerhardt, and then they keep the card. So it doesn't feel like it's worth it to me here. They still have to play, we still maintain last say, which is super important. Obviously seeing something cheap come down kind of frustrates me a little bit, but I'm content with what we did here, and we do get that last leader charge, so it's not all bad. And if they do have Gerhardt in hand and that's what they were preserving, we get that last say, so we can go and we can take a Morkvarg in round 3 if they go ahead and they use a pact off of it. So at least there's that. We obviously have to top deck decently, and surely we get at least one good card. We don't want to see the boat here, it's too slow. I might not get better than 8 points, but I think we have to keep the hand the way it is. And Berna could potentially pull into Morkvarg and discard targets, so the point ceiling is a bit higher. Yeah, that's what I was worried about, you see? Who knows if they just drew it or not, but again, it's one of those chances I didn't want to take last round. But the alumni are really nothing to worry about at this point. So, Turvey's not getting better. I don't think Morkvarg is really even needed at this point in the match. Like, because they use it above and beyond Pact. So, unless they were able to reset the order of maybe the Marine and then use another boost or something like that, then maybe it's worth it. But even so, I think we do take Berna second to last, obviously, to think about it. We don't just not play Berna. It's a free decision.
Your wish, my duty.
We shall do it my
Yeah,
way.
and you see what I mean here. We tuck back actually both Morkvargs because they have nothing boosted at this point, so I'd rather take the 8 points with the armor than to not. I want to get rid of that just in case they reset the order somehow, and I think that'll just do it for this game. It's never a comfortable match, but it's a winnable match for sure. And moving on to the next one here, I'm sure some of you guys are curious to see how we do against warriors. This is very similar to the warriors deck that I put together about 2 weeks ago, with the greedy, iced, Fuchsia, and Herald, right? Cramming all these cards into one deck. I would expect that to be like the norm right now. A lot of people leaning in that direction just because I think it's pretty well the only way you're going to get away with playing warriors like super competitively is just like cramming that top end. So I'm expecting that here. And we need a good hand round one. We don't really have it. So this might provoke me to spend things a little bit more expensive than what I would normally like to spend in round one to try and win round one. So if you see me swinging, that's basically why. It's because I kind of want round control in this matchup. Because if we bring them to round 3 and they have Iced, they have Fuchsia, and they have Herald, I don't think we win. Because the point swing off the Iced alone is just a lot to keep up with, right? Sort of just playing out turn by turn. That boat is like really awkward because it's 10 power, technically, with the armor, right? We have 6, and we've got access to 4. I don't want to use leader, and we got to start making some commitments here, right? So I'm going to take one, and hopefully they're playing damage cards from hand, and they have something a little bit awkward for us to, or for them to play. and then we can try and take scoia'tael here, I think, and really get rid of that boat, because we don't want to give them bloodthirst. We don't want to give them a point every single turn that we continue to try and win this round. So better earlier than later. And our deployability will trigger before theirs, so we don't have to take the damage on this scoia'tael if we play him. I'm just trying to decide, okay, am I actually going to do this though? Because once you go in, you have to sort of commit to it, right? If I'm going to start dumping gold cards, we better win the round. So it's a matter of a choice right here. Okay, am I willing to play this entire hand? Not so much am I willing to just play scoia'tael. So I was thinking, yeah, I'm down. Let's get it done.
I can do a great deal more for you.
And so obviously seeing discards come down like that, we don't have access to ours, so there's no way to directly match that tempo, but it could be something that we have up on them later, right? If they run out of tempo or something and we have all these crazy discards, that's something special. So I'm not ruling it out just yet. Maybe that's the only discard they had too. Trying to get the most value from this Holger before it's removed. Play pirates and play boats, really. Bronze is first, because if we get a pass, we could just play another bronze and call it a day. Obviously, I want to try and save Bran and Turgvi. I think they're pretty valuable here. I'm surprised we see a stunning blow. Okay. So if I take Turgvi, it's expensive. It's really expensive. But it puts us in a spot now where we're actually winning uneven. And it was only a matter of time before they passed. So this is where we get the payoff from our early commitments. Because if we get the pass, then we did spend gold cards that we didn't really gain that card advantage from. And that kind of feels bad. Because what they played compared to what we played is kind of, you know... Obviously, we played stronger cards. And I'm pretty sure that that they do, yeah, they do take the pass here. This just gives us the round win on even. Now we can go into round 2. I think you always need to bleed this matchup. We pushed for a reason. Round 1 is to actually take round 1, so I want to go into round 2 and I want to get out some of those gold combos from them and start giving them my bronzes in exchange. Now, they played a bit of their discard package in round 1, so I'm hoping that they have a really top-heavy hand and we start seeing more gold cards. But at the same time here, I'm looking to get some of my discard units and some of my bronzes cycled out so that we have, obviously, more golds for round 3. And it doesn't look like much, but we could probably play down quite well, maybe to 1 or 2 cards in hand. I don't know if we're going to be able to go all in, because they're going to really try and defend that card. Every turn that we play, they're going to try and play that 1 extra point.
Or need I kill you again?
And this is kind of awkward for them. If you think about it, we have a lot of the same cards in our deck. So what are they going to play that's stronger than 7 power? They're going to have to go and take something that's a bigger commitment, right? Coral's been spent, so either it's like a discard package, or it's like a Herald, or, you know, it's something that's tall. They can't play Turgvi here. You probably wouldn't want to play scoia'tael because the armor that we have. And the goal for them is to try and preserve that leader too. They don't want to spend the leader in the iced combo, so that's why we see Herald come down here. And I was expecting something like that, but it was really good to see it pay off. And that's like 30% of our problems gone. It's not like nearly enough for me to say, alright, let's go. We need to see Fukusha at least, or iced, like one of the two. And then if I go into round 3 with 1 up on them in that way, then I'm feeling pretty confident. So, you know, round 3, if I have Fukusha and Herald and they just have Iced, then I think we can win the game.
On both sides.
And they come right back with Fukusha. So 2 of 3 is good. Now I'm just trying to see how long I can stay in the round before the contrast in points is too high and they can tempo pass and obviously win the game. So I want them to think, okay, I got you, I got you. If you pass, I win. And you'll see me just start to throw out cards here. Maybe some of the bronzes first. There's even consideration just to play everything, really. We didn't get too much value from Terror here, so I don't feel as bad about saving it. And this is what I'm talking about. We have 21 points to win. So they're still thinking, okay, if I pass, like, I lose. So they have to play, but it's, if they get like another 20 points on me somehow, then we're in a spot where we need to pass. But you saw, even if we don't need the movement tech there, it actually played for quite a bit, like a big amount of points. It was the 5 damage plus the 2 base power, 4 provision, so there's 7 right there. A lot of times people are stacking rows too. The Fruity Yizgith matchup, any sort of relics, lots of monsters even, lots of scoia'tael stacking rows because of the Saskia plays and Nature's Gift and all that type of stuff. So the Harpooner gets some pretty good value here. I'm deciding to play Morkvarg because I'm doing a little bit of math here. The boat in hand's worth a lot. We have 2 leader charges and we have King Bran, so we can probably just get away with it. And that looks like a mistake to me. I went and checked their graveyard here just because I was like, why didn't you take it? They would have had 5 points with the diamond, right? So they could have actually hit something for 5. And with that mistake, I decided to play. All we need is 11 points to win here. We've got 6 points to removal on their side of the board and then 2 leader charges. But we can't go all in, for sure. Yeah, so I'm looking at it. If it brings me up above them in points, I would do it. But here's the thing, like, I don't want to use leader to get there, because then they have that advantage on me, right? If they can just save leader. So I have to pass here. It feels kind of awkward to continue to play. And Morkvarg doesn't do a whole lot for me here. Herald's great to see. We need Fukusha, would be awesome. That's actually a really good hand. I don't know if we ever want to go and take it, a mulligan here, just because sometimes you get too greedy, and I've been guilty of it. You don't even get anything you need. So we have to rely on Berna really helping us out here with the discards to pull into something good like that. And sure enough, that's why I took Berna first, is because if we hit our target, we'd tuck back one of those things, because I felt like if we played the Raider from hand, they would just leader that, for sure. So now I want to have things that just have like a deployability, so we don't have to worry too much about it. And Herald can kind of start coming down here. I think we always just bring this back though. There's really not much we can do at this point. Something's getting removed. And I'd like to be able to play Fukusha next and then play the boat the last, because obviously we're going to be getting max value on it, and they're going to wait till last turn in order to take that leader. And they don't have a great target right now. Everything's kind of 5 points, you know what I mean? It's not perfect. So, thinking about this here, it doesn't matter. Either way we win the game. I'm just explaining that it's a little bit risky because if it is iced, that card comes back. So they could either take iced like Bloodthirst 3 draw discard, or they can just let the Scoia'tael come back. I think either way it should still be a win at this point, but it's something to take in mind. We could have potentially taken Coral there, but I just calculated that this would still bring a win. And I think it was safe because if we didn't put the Rupture, then they probably would have just, they could have got maybe a high roll draw or something like that. I don't know. It just felt comfortable here. Moving on to the next one. This is a bit of an unconventional matchup. It's not your strict Assimilate. Obviously, it does play around Assimilate, but it's one of those decks that are scary. One of the ones where you don't expect certain things to happen, and you kind of just have to change your strategy to adapt to prevent some crazy combo that if it just works, you win the game type thing going on. So it makes it a little bit awkward for me to play this game, and we take some decisions that I wouldn't normally take, let's say, in a typical matchup against Assimilate. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm thinking, okay, they're either doing multi-Brathens, or they're doing multi-Masquerade, or they're doing multi-Terra Nova. Like, there's so many different things it could be. And so now I have to start answering these before they become a problem. They also have Assimilate, which is unfortunate, so they can engine. Feeling pretty good about that there. They didn't give anything spying. Obviously, we have to go and try and start getting some points on the board here. So we could warm up a Raider. We could take a Burna. I'm pretty sure I do opt for the Burna first because I want, like, a bit more of hand structure. Like, there's a bit more going on here that I can feel comfortable committing. I don't love playing Raiders against Assimilate. They make copies of them all game, and it just gives them a lot of points. And I don't have an answer to that unless... Here's the thing, like, we have to use either Gutting Slash plus Leader, because the Turgvi wouldn't be enough here to get rid of that, because it doesn't work that way. Like, it's at the end of their turn, so if they're doing something and they want to click that this turn, then they can actually have access to do it. And what bothers me too is the fact that we're playing against Double Cross. Like, I know they're going to be having a huge Assimilate package more than likely with spies, so they can make more copies of this since it's on our side. So I'm thinking, okay, even if I can answer that one, what do I do with a Duchess Informant and a Brathens and an Artorias, and then they might, you know, coup it, and then, you see what I mean? So we either just, like, play something down to 7, pass early, but I'm deciding here to get rid of it. I haven't seen enough yet to be convinced, like, what's going on. If they come out with another one, we maybe even try to remove that one too.
Try not to scream so.
How many do you have, you know? It's crazy. And it feels like a complete waste of leader to me. That's why it's frustrating. But I'm just hoping that it prevents whatever they got going on to be, you know, at the extent that we lose. So I think we're done answering for the most part here. Now I want to at least try and take the round uneven. We'll assess it turn by turn though, depending on what they play. Then Megascope is very slow. So if I was to pass, it would probably be here, because this would give them 5 points, which would be a tie. And they'd have to spend something else. And they'd already be down a card. Like, they'd be down 2 cards technically, right? And they can't use the order on the Megascope at the end of the next turn, because it'll spawn it. So instead of having like 4 or 5 copies of what they wanted, they only got the 1. So I don't feel too bad about it. This deck plays very similar to Mages, I find. So we get that crazy card advantage here.
Get out! Away! This here's our isle.
I'm telling you though, these are the scary decks. They still, after everything, managed to get 3 of these things. It's, they put Brathens there, so that's what they're doing. Is it's going to be like a triple Brathens type deal, which is actually a lot of points. If you think about it, they can't really bleed us fearing Morkvarg. It's funny how they're hovering on that card. They can't really bleed us too much, because if they go like Brathens into Emissary a couple times and try to 2-0, we have a crazy Morkvarg with the card advantage that we have. So I think they have to go into the long round here, and in the long round they're still going to be down cards. So I think that although their strategy was really good, it shouldn't win the game necessarily because of the card difference. And we just need to have a decent hand. Like, we're missing a few pretty good gold cards, right? I've got the 1 discard target here. Everything else feels pretty comfortable. Brand's a little bit better than an Invader. Sure, they can't make a copy of it. And it has maybe a boost. But missing Herald is really bad. We could maybe take Fuchsia into a Burna to look for it. And then that with the Quarrel gives us 3 discards. So, something to think about.
Enough! Let us finish this.
This is the first time, though, I've played against whatever this is, right? I've played against something similar that my friend put together when he made like 5 Masquerade balls against me, and I posted a video on that if you guys are curious, but I haven't seen Adarin in the spies and all this, so I'm really going into it like what's going on here basically, right? Is it even worth removing? Is it just going to give them like a 1-point engine or something? Like, I don't know. I think Adarin was actually meant to be a round 1 play. Just kind of looking at it now, because they had the Megascopes, right? That's how I would normally use Adarin. And in round 3, if that's the case, then Adarin shouldn't be, like, a major concern.
Do I enjoy torture? Perhaps.
It sucks that we don't have our leader here, because I would have liked to go in and take, like, a leader plus the Raider ping to get rid of the 5. But we have to start getting engines down, so Holger would be nice to play here. And I don't want to go Fuchsia because I want to have 2 cards per row. So we get extra rain payoff here. I think it's the mage that we take. And I'm floating that because I feel like we can in the back row. Okay, that's a problem. Glynis is actually a really big payoff here if you think about it. If they are going in with 3 Brathens, and they have Glynis on the board, Glynis is going to be boosting like by 2 every single time they play a Brathens, and the spy that it creates. So it's like 4 points, 4 points, 4 points. It feels like a win condition to me. So at 8, plus the 2, is a really clean removal. And the fact that they high rolled the Fuchsia, let's not forget about that. It's like, of course they did, right? But you see what I mean here. They're going to have a big swing, but I think they'll cap out around 60, 70 points. So all we have to do is make that, and we should be fine. But it's going to be closer than it looked coming into the round just because of how busted the play was they were able to pull off. So here, we'll go ahead and take that here. And we actually do draw what we need. I'm trying to decide. I think we tuck Raider. I don't want them to have as much bronze cards to mess around with. It's a lot more difficult for them to interact with golds, especially in this hand state, right? I think if Glynis stayed, though, we would potentially lose the game. Just because there would be too many things going tall that Morkvarg wouldn't be enough, I don't think. I guess we'll take that. Kind of have to. We want to get the most value from our plays here because we do have 3 units left with the warrior tag. We still have... We've got, yeah, 3 warriors, 2 of which have pirate tags as well. We're going to wait till Morkvarg last say, I think. And as far as the Rupture, the highest base power here is 6. Obviously, trying to take away the Assimilate engines when possible. Brathens was at a 6. It felt like a perfect time to take scoia'tael. I've decided that it's not going to be Morkvarg on the Adaran. It's going to be a Morkvarg probably on the Vigo at this point. Or the Mage. But you see what I mean? Look at that. 75 points and we have a turn to rain. All of a sudden they just... Like, that's what happens, I guess, when you play 3 Brathens. Back to back. It's the same. Base power 5 and base power 3. There. And because the salt, you know, just we play it, we show them what we have, they play it all the way, we play all the way. That's basically it. It was a lot closer than I would have liked to have it, but now I kind of have that matchup figured out. And going into the last matchup here, this is the controversial one, and I might actually make a video about this. Not this game specifically, but about Syndicate, because it's very frustrating. I've been playing a lot of games lately where I feel like they weren't played optimally, and you're still losing in these matchups, and I'd like to maybe break down a couple of those games. Kind of talk about what needs to change. So again, it's one of those things where I want a playable hand for round 1. We put down the boat. This will help take things down a little bit. One of the reasons as well, I forgot to mention, I believe in the intro, that I have Giga Scorpion in the list is because if we have a boat down, then they play Saul, it goes up to 6 instead of 7, and we take Giga there. Really effective removal, and because a lot of people are playing the exact same version of the deck, or like 1 or 2 card differences, it's very easy to try and tech for those. But we don't have it this round, so if they pull into Saul or play Saul, then it's not really good for us here. I think we have to try and snipe that. Obviously, I'd like to go and take a leader or something like that, but I think it's too expensive, especially on blue coin. And this is an example of what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know if they understood maybe the meaning of the tribute. So it's like, I'm looking at this like a miscalc. So I'm sort of taking mental notes on like how they're playing the deck, maybe on how familiar they are with it, and how I might be able to play throughout the matchup. That's kind of like one indication that, okay, we might be alright. It's that, or they just didn't have anything else they could play at the time. But we got a good snipe with that. And we can go ahead and take our discards if they start to tempo a little bit. What I like, though, is that they don't have a whole lot of coin here. Obviously, if they can finish the kill with the bounty, it's going to be, you know, giving them quite a bit. But for now, we're good to just kind of play our bronzes and start to establish the graveyard for our revives later. Okay, there we go. You see what I mean? Up to 7. And pretty inexpensive points. Like, they have a lot of removal options, so playing Professor even in round 1 doesn't feel too bad when you're playing Jackpot. We got to start respecting the fact that they might creep up on us here. If they put down a Jackal, then we, you know, we could get not trapped, but a bit uncomfortable with the round. So we'll take a heavy discard here, and I'm looking for a pass, guys. This is important to look at. You see, the score is 36-7, right? Okay, they put down the Jackal click once. We've got a 22-point lead. They need 23 points to get ahead, right? And so I'm thinking there's no way they can do it in one card. And, you know, we get maybe double last say, or we get the full leader commitment here, right? As it should be. Yeah, see, then they can just go here and slam down a Siggy over profit, spend a little bit, and look, all of a sudden, they're up by the 1 point they need. You know what I mean? They did literally, what, 23 points in one turn? In round 1, and it's not even that bad because they did it off the back of a 1 expensive card and a bronze card. And it doesn't really change how the deck plays all that much if you play Siggy like that early. And so I understand that, and I'm actually a little bit worried that they might try and push. Because like I said, the Syndicate, that's not all that bad. If they can get up to the coin again, they can take the tribute on Savola, get out Cobb, get a refund, and just play it all again. And we do struggle for that tempo in round 2 a lot of the time, and they know this. So I'm going to be playing in such a way that I'm trying to preserve gold cards and set up our engines early so that we can get the most value from them. Really big thing though is not overcommitting if we don't have to. And so I'm hoping that at this point we do trap them, we keep the card advantage. They say it's not worth it, but I'm pretty sure they do push a little bit more. I don't really love the idea of taking Berna here just because I find a little scary. Like we could pull into some gold cards, so Scoia'tael has to come out. Now they're starting to see some of our gold cards. I'm thinking, okay, maybe we can even use like the Raider here and just try and create such a point deficit that they will try and leave the round, right? Split up for Bloodthirst just in case. Also kind of nice to try and get rid of them if they're bonded. So I think it has to be Berna. I can't afford to spend Fukusha. Plus, if we tuck away bronzes here, we still get us ahead. So yeah, they're going all in with it. They got full bank and all that type of thing. I have to remove it, and that's something I didn't want to spend here, but it's not really a choice, because if they have any sort of spender that deals damage at this point, then like the Executioner or something, then they can just keep recycling that for days. So we get the pass we're looking for, and remember last round they didn't get the best tribute with the Professor. This round it felt like a little bit of a waste on the Witchfinder, and we defended card. Like we actually defended the bleed very well. We kept all of our gold cards. We're going to be pulling into a lot of our best cards, and at this point I'm thinking we should win. We have a discard there. We do need those two though. But we saw a lot of provisions coming out in the last couple rounds, and we do have the advantage, and their bank's half empty. They've got leader, but so do we.
Of course, friend.
I'm thinking that might be one of the last spenders, except for Cobb. Maybe they have a Jackal, but we have an answer. We have Tall Punish, right? But for now, we can use that. Just get rid of that problem. And for what it's worth, guys, I was actually going to play more games for you guys today, but after this one, I just decided to take a break. Trust me, the frustration that you guys have, I feel the same way. I just don't express it all the time. They take a Peller for 4 points and their card down, so it almost feels like we're 2 cards up at this point, right? Nothing left but to take a Fukusha. I opt for the Coral here just because I think it's good. Like, I believe that our hand is comfortable. Otherwise, we could have maybe taken Berna, but if we didn't draw Herald, it wasn't really a good play, you know? So, at least this way we're guaranteed to have something. And I get like a free Jackal removal too, right? And the most frustrating part about it was this deck was a combination of like bounty, it was like it's non-devotion version, there's just a bit of everything in here. I don't think it's optimized, and they're still keeping that pace, you know, with the deck that I believe we have that's, you know, pretty optimized, right? And then they can just go ahead and slam down their last card. But on a better note, I got tons of ideas for you guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow with a brand new video at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And I appreciate you sticking around for this long and watching this one. We didn't lose. We did tie, though. So I'll take it for now. It is what it is. See you soon.